Have you ever wondered how a boy who could barely speak clearly, who struggled in school, could one day become one of the greatest inventors in human history? This is not just a story about electricity. This is a story about faith, hard work, and the courage to stand up again, even when the world pushes you down. Thomas Alva Edison was born on February 11, 1847, in a small town in Milan, Ohio. Nothing about his childhood looked special. He was not the top student. He was not the strongest. In fact, many people believed he would never succeed. At school, Thomas was slow in learning. He did not memorize answers like other children. Instead, he would ask questions, deep questions, questions that teachers could not answer. Why does the wind blow? Where does light come from? Why does fire die? Instead of appreciating his curiosity, teachers became frustrated. One day, his teacher wrote a note and sent him home. Your child is mentally slow and unable to learn. The moment that changed Edison's life forever happened that day. Thomas brought the letter to his mother and asked her to read it. She read it silently, her eyes filled with tears. She hugged her son tightly and said, "My child is a genius. This school is too small for him and too slow to teach him." That sentence became the foundation of his courage. That day, Thomas Edison did not just leave school. He left behind the belief that he was weak and stepped into the belief that he could become something great. From that day, his mother became his first teacher. She encouraged him to read books, to explore science, and to experiment with anything he found. Thomas would spend hours taking apart watches, radios, tools, anything he could get. He wanted to understand everything. But life was not easy. His family was poor. He had no access to real laboratory tools. So he worked not to earn money, but to earn knowledge. At the age of 12, he began selling snacks and newspapers on the train. He woke up before sunrise, worked long hours, and returned home exhausted. Yet he kept one dream alive. I must learn. I must discover. I must try. With the money he earned, he built his very first laboratory inside the train baggage room. It was small, messy, and full of jars, chemicals, and tools. But to Edison, it was the greatest place on earth. Then came his first great disaster. While experimenting with chemicals, one bottle dropped and exploded. The fire spread quickly. The train workers dragged Edison out and beat him. All of his equipment was thrown outside. Some people would have cried. Some people would have quit. But not Thomas Edison. As he watched his destroyed tools being thrown out of the train, he whispered to himself, "One day, the world will remember my experiments." During the same year, Edison suffered another challenge. His hearing started to fade. Doctors could not help him. Slowly, he began to lose most of his hearing. Imagine a child who failed in school, a child who was called stupid, a child who lost his hearing, still refusing to quit. Instead of complaining, Edison said, "My deafness gives me one advantage. It allows me to concentrate on my work." Nothing could stop him now. Working during the day, learning at night, dreaming every moment, Edison began his journey toward greatness. This part of his life teaches us something powerful. Success does not depend on how smart you are. Success depends on how hard you try. Everything was against him, yet he kept moving forward. Because Thomas Edison believed in something deeply. A person only fails when he stops trying. The journey of Thomas Edison started with hunger for knowledge. But now, it was time for the world to witness the hunger for success. When Edison became a young man, he did not have a fancy laboratory. He did not have investors or mentors. He only had a burning belief that one day, he would invent something that would change the world forever. At the age of 22, he created his first patented invention, an electric vote recorder, a device that could make elections faster and more secure. But when he went to the officials, they rejected him. They said, "We don't want a faster system. We want the slow old way." This was a painful moment. Most people would give up. But Edison said something extraordinary. "If the world doesn't like what I invent, then I will invent something the world cannot live without." He moved to New Jersey and started working even harder. He rented a small space and turned it into a laboratory. This place would one day be known as the Invention Factory, a workshop, where ideas were more valuable than money. Edison hired young engineers and researchers, not because they were experienced, but because they were hungry, just like him. They lived in the laboratory. They slept only a few hours each night. They tested new ideas every single day. Failures filled the room. Machines broke. Experiments collapsed. Chemicals exploded. Money disappeared. And then, something incredible happened. Edison invented the phonograph. The first machine in human history that could record and play sound. When Edison's voice played back for the first time, it was as if the world witnessed magic. People called him the Wizard of Menlo Park. But Edison did not celebrate for long. His heart and mind were already focused on the next mission, to make electric light for every home in the world. At that time, houses used candles and kerosene lamps. They were expensive, smoky, and dangerous. Millions suffered burns and fires. Edison wanted to replace fire with electricity, to make nights safe, to make life easier, to make the world brighter. But everyone told him, it is impossible. Dozens of scientists have already failed. Edison replied, impossible is a word used by people who fear success. He began the longest and hardest journey of his life. Day and night, he and his team worked, testing every material that could hold electricity long enough to glow. They tested bamboo, cotton thread, metal wires, paper fibers, cedar wood, palm leaf, and even beard hair. Experiment after experiment, failure after failure. More than 9,000 attempts. Workers lost hope. Some quit. Some laughed behind his back. Investors warned him, stop now. You are wasting time and money. But Edison answered calmly, I am not discouraged. Every failure is progress. I now know thousands of ways that do not work. His fingers were burned. His eyes were red. His body was exhausted. But his spirit was stronger than ever. Finally, after more than 2 years of endless experiments, Edison created a bulb that burned for 45 hours. The moment the bulb lit up the laboratory, everyone froze. No one spoke. No celebration. Only tears of victory. Because they knew. This was not just a light bulb. This was proof that a human being can conquer the impossible. Newspapers around the world reported, Thomas Edison has turned night into day. Suddenly, people wanted electricity. Companies wanted to invest. Cities wanted to glow. Edison had finally done it. But the light bulb was not just an invention. It was a message to humanity. If you are willing to fail 10,000 times, the world cannot stop you from succeeding. Thomas Edison didn't just light the world, he lit the path of patience, persistence, and unstoppable belief. The invention of the light bulb did not just bring light to homes, it brought a revolution. Before Edison, the world lived in darkness. People slept early because nights were dangerous. Shops closed early. Cities slept. After Edison, streets glowed. Factories worked through the night. Progress accelerated, and the world began to change. Success was finally here. But success also attracts challenges. To spread electricity across America, Edison needed more than a bulb. He needed a system that could deliver power to every house and every city. So he created power stations, meters, fuses, cables, and safe wiring systems. He designed everything from the ground up. He built companies. He trained engineers. He turned electricity into an organized industry. For millions of people, Edison became a symbol of hope, progress, and the future. But with great success came a great war. Across the world, brilliant scientists were watching Edison. One of them was a young genius named Nikola Tesla. Tesla believed electricity should not be delivered the way Edison designed it. Edison supported DC direct current electricity. Tesla supported AC alternating current electricity. AC current could travel long distances. It was cheaper and more efficient. The world suddenly had two sides. Team Edison, DC, Team Tesla, AC/DC, became known as the War of Currents, one of the most intense scientific battles in history. Newspapers turned it into drama. Engineers took sides. Investors gambled money. Industries fought for power, literally. Edison strongly believed DC was safer. He argued that AC was dangerous and unpredictable. Tesla countered that AC could carry power across countries, something DC could not do. The rivalry grew. Lines were drawn. Friendships broke. The scientific community was on fire. Meanwhile, the world watched silently, waiting to see who would shape their future. In the end, AC electricity won. It was cheaper, faster, and more powerful for large-scale distribution. Many believed Edison had been defeated. Some critics mocked him, claiming the world no longer needed him. Business competitors celebrated. Journalists wrote headlines attacking his reputation. But Edison did not disappear. He did not quit. He did not let pride become his weakness. Instead, Edison said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. What matters is the courage to continue." While the world argued about electricity, Edison moved on to new frontiers. He built the motion picture camera and opened the door to the film industry, the beginning of Hollywood. He improved the carbon microphone, making clear communication possible. He created the alkaline storage battery, powering machinery and transportation, and he continued creating new patents, inventing not just machines, but industries. He was no longer just an inventor, he was a builder of the modern world. But what truly made Thomas Edison great was not his inventions, it was his mentality. When others stopped, he continued. When others complained, he worked. When others doubted, he believed. The world remembers him today, not just because he electrified cities, but because he electrified human determination. He proved one powerful truth, asterisk. As Thomas Edison grew older, the world began to recognize him not only as an inventor, but as a symbol of hope and persistence. Children read about him in schools. Scientists visited him to learn. Leaders wrote letters to him for guidance. The world saw him as a man who turned failure into fuel. But behind the respect, behind the fame, Edison remained the same simple, hard-working person. He woke up early every morning. He walked to his laboratory. He worked with tools, machines, and notebooks, the way he had done since childhood. Even though he had almost completely lost his hearing, even though his eyesight had become weak, his curiosity remained young. One day, when asked why he did not retire, he answered, "I am not working for money. I am working because curiosity keeps me alive." But life still had another test waiting for him. The fire tragedy, 1914, on a cold December night. A massive explosion shook Edison's factory. Flames rose into the sky, buildings burned, machines melted. Years of work turned into smoke. Edison's son, Charles, ran toward him in panic and shouted, "Father, everything is gone." The fire departments tried to stop the disaster, but it was too late. Millions of dollars worth of inventions, experiments, and equipment, all destroyed. People expected Edison to collapse with grief. Newspapers expected him to cry. The world expected him to give up. But Edison stood calmly and said something no one in history ever imagined. "No, my son. Everything is not gone. Everything is new now. All our mistakes are burned. Tomorrow, we start again." That night, Edison went home and slept peacefully. The next morning, at 7:30 a.m., he returned to the burnt laboratory and started planning the rebuild. At the age when most people rest, Edison began again. This moment became one of the greatest lessons in human history. Success is not about what you achieve. Success is about who you become. Edison rebuilt the laboratory, continued inventing, continued inspiring, continued working until his body could no longer follow his mind. He passed away on October 18, 1931, at the age of 84. On that night, something beautiful happened. To honor Thomas Edison, cities around the world turned off their electric lights for 1 full minute. The world that Edison helped illuminate went dark. To thank the man who taught humanity to shine. Today, every bulb that glows, every screen that lights up, every device that powers on, carries a message from Edison. Never stop trying. Never fear failure. Never allow defeat to decide your future. Edison did not change the world because he was born talented. He changed the world because he refused to quit. He proved that you don't have to be the smartest child in school. You don't have to grow up rich. You don't have to be perfect. You only need the courage to stand up again and again and again. So if you are chasing a dream, don't stop. If your life is full of obstacles, keep going. If people doubt you, prove them wrong. Because the world is not controlled by the strongest. The world is controlled by the people who keep trying when everyone else gives up. Thomas Edison did not invent the light only for the world. He invented belief for humanity. Asterisk.